The oldest and strongest human emotion is fear, and the oldest and strongest type of fear is trepidation of the unknown. When we were children, our parents told us that monsters didn't exist, but we were sure that something was lurking under the bed or in the closet. Fear sees, even if our eyes are closed. Welcome to the realm of the arcane. My name is Lon Strickler. Join me as I examine unexplained creatures, strange manifestations, and remarkable realities. Imagine this next hour as a voyage of discovery to strange lands, seeking not for new territory, but for new knowledge of the supernatural. Come on board as we begin this adventure together. Hey folks, good evening and welcome to another episode of Arcane Radio, where we explore the unexplained here on the Paranormal King Radio Network. I'm your host, Lon Strickler, coming to you within a cannon shot of historic Gettysburg in the cryptid Mecca of Pennsylvania. I thank you for joining me. Now, tonight's scheduled guest, Ronnie LeBlanc, couldn't make it tonight. Unfortunately, he got stuck at JFK in New York City while doing a promo for his upcoming show, Expedition Bigfoot. And I don't know what happened, but his flight got canceled. And as of now, he's still sitting there. I don't think he's going to get back to Boston until about 9:30. So we had to postpone his appearance this evening. But I promise you, we will definitely get him back on the show. But in his stead, we have my friend, colleague, Butch Witkowski. Hey, Butch, thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime, you know that.
Yeah, I do. You're my good old standby. Now, folks, like many you probably know, the Phantoms and Monsters Fortean research team has been gathering many more of these winged humanoid reports throughout the Chicagoland area, including a new sighting at O'Hare International Airport at the Nippon cargo area.
Mm-hmm.
So, currently we have several reports, which I believe is the current number is 4, that need to be followed up with interviews. Now, as soon as we do so, the information will be posted on the Phantoms of Monsters blog at phantomsofmonsters.com. So, I mean, I don't know why we're getting all this, Butch, but it just seems all of a sudden this thing has picked up again in the past month and a half, and it's getting a little weird.
Well, yeah, especially the guy's description of the thing as a demon, Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for me to wrap my head around some descriptions, but now as far as the bipedals, we'll be down now for the winter. Mm-hmm. And I attribute a lot of that to nobody's really out there, and it's not walking around because the woods are full of hunters and everything right now. But we should pick up with them again probably in March, April again. But it's kind of funny how things are running this year, because some things are up, some things are down. Like for November, there were only 400 UFO reports for the whole country. 400.
Yeah, you were telling me that is awful low.
There were only, I think, for Pennsylvania, there were 8. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
California and Texas make up over 400 a month, but that was for the whole county, and a lot of the sightings. Not many cryptid sightings. Some that are just, they're misinformation,
Right.
I'm not saying they're disinformation, but I'm sure they're misinformation or a misidentification. But there are a lot of weird paranormal stuff going on, especially down south. A couple of stuff I picked up on, and it's just like this whole year has been just weird. not following normally what we're used to, where, you're getting one or two or three or maybe more reports a day or every couple days, and they encompass everything. They encompass the bipedals, they encompass cryptids, Bigfoot, strange things in the sky, strange paranormal happenings, the winged creatures and stuff like that are the only ones that seem to have stayed right up to par.
Yeah, and because of some of the number of sightings, especially down in the south, I've been getting a fair amount of Bigfoot sightings down in Mississippi, down along the Gulf Coast. So I decided that we really started, we really needed to start getting more reliable investigators on the ground. So the Phantoms and Monsters Fortean research team is expanding. We did expand one more individual here in Pennsylvania. We have another one who we are talking to in Northeast Pennsylvania. We added a gentleman down in central Mississippi by the name of Marcus Ellis, and Jack Carey, who's pretty well known among cryptozoologists, and who's from Denver or lives in Denver. He has agreed to join us, and our friend Manuel Navarrete is now part of the team as well. So we pretty well got Chicago covered. We had Tobias and Vance, and now we have Manuel up there. So we have that area pretty well covered. But then again, I don't know how many more people we're going to bring in. We also had Danielle Claire, who's down in Central Florida, but she can cover a few other areas down there. Mm-hmm. So we might get another researcher down south, and probably I'm trying to get some people down in Texas, and I got somebody I'm looking at in the Four Corners area as well, since our friend JC is no longer with us. So there's a lot been going on down there again. I've been getting a lot of reports off of the reservation. In fact, I got a really bizarre boneyard report in Pine Springs in Arizona, which is on the Nainabu reservation, just the other day, and I'm going to try to follow up on that. So yeah, things are pretty busy. But like this thing with the UFOs, that's bizarre. That is very bizarre.
Yeah, that's low. I just can't even remember a year where we had that low in a month. I'm sure there was, but I just can't remember any. I mean, that's extremely low. Mm. But there are, we have, some different types of things that we want to try this year when we go out. A lot of these, I did a mapping of the bipedal sightings and their in the relationship to their distance to caves, mm-hmm. or abandoned towns. Mm-hmm. And Pennsylvania, we're loaded with that stuff.
Oh yeah, a lot of that around.
And out of the 59 reports, and a couple of those, some of those are historic, but out of all the reports, there's like 7 or 8 that are within a quarter of a mile or less of a cave or an abandoned town. So that'll be road trip time. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple of the places I had to write to because I got a list of the owners of the properties, of course. Most of them said, "Hey, you're welcome to go look whatever you're looking for." But there were 4 that they want to sign. I have to sign a release in case I get lost or something eats me while I'm in there. So I mean, I think that's going to be the next shot at this. We're still going to go along with setting up the cameras. The thermal imaging cameras are I'm still think it's going to be my best bet. And, you got to watch that stuff because, they're a little too expensive to leave sitting out in the woods and walk away from, unless they're really well concealed. So, I mean, that's where we're going to be going come spring. There's a case in Western Pennsylvania that started out as an archaeological dig from Penn State University. And just a bunch of weird things happened while the folks were up there.
Where's that at?
Was just the other side of Clearfield.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually an Indian dig site. One of the, I forget what tribe, got a hold of Penn State, and they sent a team up. But there were weird things happening, like lights in the woods that shouldn't have been. There's no homes or anything around where the dig site was. Some of the stuff they dug up shouldn't have been there, like that particular area of the state was not involved in the French and Indian Wars. I mean, they were mostly in the south and the southwest and west of Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania. And, they found some stuff that shouldn't have been there, like, some buttons and, parts of a rifle of some type. Mm-hmm. But they did find bodies, bones, which they documented. And I believe, if I remember right, they were turned over to the reservation that they were going to take them back to, which I believe it would have been Iroquois. So, there's all kind of things happening, just weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it's going to be one of those years coming up, we got stuff in southern Pennsylvania and down around York County. A gentleman that I investigated a site for, matter of fact, it's right down the road from where you live. 5 years ago, he's having the same issues again, where not during the corn season when the corn's up and growing, but right after the corn season, it just seems like he has these bouncing white lights all over the cornfield across from his farm. And it's not his field. His field is in the back of his farm. This one's across the road. And
it's down here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What, Adams County?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And I was down there twice, and I did get to see him once, but I don't know what's on the other side of the cornfield. So, it could be lights from a vehicle. It just doesn't seem like that, though, because they're not going in a straight line, or, they're kind of like bouncing, like you throw a ball. And so I want to look at that a little bit harder. I want to get back into Lancaster County and see if my friends are still at the chicken coop. Excuse me. And so a lot of things going on.
Well, we got a couple questions in the chat room. Let's see. Somebody asking about J.C. Johnson, who's continuing his work now. Well, that's just it. I don't know if anybody continuing his work now. I know Jack Harry has been doing some of it when he gets a chance to get down there. But then again, J.C. was up in northern Minnesota when he passed. And I don't know if Ron Shaw is continuing his work up there or not. So that's kind of an open question. I really don't know right now. I'm really trying to get a gauge on what's been going on down in the southeast, but especially down the Four Corners, because like I said, I have been getting reports, and I've had people calling me and giving me ideas of some things that have been going on. So I don't know. I guess you don't know of anybody, do you, Butch?
No, not in that area. But I'll tell you what, some of the best reports came out of that area.
Oh yeah. There's a lot going on down there. That's why I think we need somebody who can move around. Maybe not as well as JC did, because he had family there. But somebody who's actually in the area, maybe get around. So, but we're looking into it. Jack Harry is helping me find somebody who lives in that area. So we'll see what happens.
What happened to his partner, the Indian guy, the indigenous guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard from him since JC passed. I guess he's still around. I don't know. I mean, that was JC's father-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was JC's father-in-law. So yeah. Well, anyway, here's another question: have the Michigan reports died down? Well, I suppose you're asking about uprights and possibly Bigfoot. I haven't received a whole lot of Michigan. Now I know there were a few winged humanoid sightings in Michigan. I know Tobias looked into a few of those as well. I think he reported some of those in his new book, which is the Lake Michigan Mothman, which just came out. So I don't know much coming out of Michigan. You, Butch?
No, not in that area.
Yeah. Everything we're getting is out of Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin on the other side of the lake. I mean, more recently. So, of course, if I get some, I will definitely put it up there. And Ross wants to know if we put any stock into the crystal skull theory. That's an interesting one. What do you think about that, Butch?
Well, there's been a lot of strange happenings around the crystal skulls. The ones that always intrigued me about the crystal skulls were the ones from, around the turn of the century. Mm-hmm. And, the things that followed them, some things good, some things bad, some things just disastrous. But, and I don't remember which museum it is that says they have the original crystal skull. Now, you can buy the crystal skulls off a bottle of vodka.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of crystal skulls around. You pretty much buy them anywhere, but I would really like to find more information out on the original, the one that was originally found, and I just can't ever find what museum it went into, or if it's even in that museum anymore.
Well, I mean, there was the original one that was found by, and his name escapes me now, but his daughter had found it because she was with him, and that was back in the early part of the last century. But anyway, I don't even know where that one's at. I don't know if it got lost or it's in a museum somewhere or it's part of somebody's collection or where it's at. But these crystal skulls, one pops up every once in a while, but you got to wonder, are these things original or, are they reproductions or what's going on? There's a lot of reproductions of these artifacts down in South America, and this whole crystal skull thing is just I don't know. It's just kind of hard to figure out. Maybe I need to get somebody on the show and talk about it sometime.
Well, yeah. I mean, the information was very scant to begin with on the crystal skull.
Yeah.
And it's been copied and recopied, and it's been in movies and everything else for eons. But the original stories of the crystal skull were intriguing because it depended on if the skull basically liked you or not. If it good things could happen to you if you were in touch with the skull, and then on the other hand, really bad things could happen to you if the skull didn't like you, they say. But it makes you wonder how many artifacts from down south or overseas, especially in the Southeast Asia, and they're finding stuff pretty much every month now. They're finding a new city down in South America, Incas and stuff like that. But there was I read an article, and it was a long time ago, where there was one of the it was originally an Inca city, but it was taken over by another tribe that didn't last long either. But they had a jade snake, a large jade, and they said that the worth was was worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. and it was in a museum in South America for many, many, many years. I mean, it was found back in the late 1800s, and guy was doing a book on it, and went to view it and take some pictures. It ain't there anymore. It hasn't been there for a long time. So again, you often wonder, how much these collectors pay for stuff like that, and they're never going to share it, because if they share it, it's been stolen or whatever.
Yeah.
But that jade snake.
I used to talk a lot about I used to talk a lot about this with Lloyd Pye when he was still around, and of course he was involved with the Star Child skull and some of the other things, and he had me talk to Brian Forster at one point. Brian Forster has been down in South America, looking at these elongated skulls and trying to figure out what all that's about for a long time now. I mean, so I might have to try to get him on the show at some point. He seems to be the expert in this now, and but they seem to be coming up with all kinds of different archaeological finds as far as with morphology and anthropological finds, these mummies and such. So it's pretty remarkable. These mummies they find in the mountains of these, for the most part, they're children, but they look like they died yesterday. I mean, it's just it's an amazing.
The weather and the dryness and the cold. Do you know who took over the Star Child investigation after Lloyd died?
Yeah, when he passed away, it was actually a foundation who took it over, and it was part of what Lloyd had started. And the gentleman, we actually had the gentleman on the radio show. I don't know if it was with Beyond the Edge or when it was with Arcane, but we had talked to him. And, I mean, they were continuing the research, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard a lot about it recently.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, I don't know to what extent that has gone to. When Lloyd was alive, he was out there looking for funding everywhere. And when he got sick, he just couldn't do it anymore. So he had this, I guess he had started this foundation, and then they took it over. So maybe that's something I need to look into and see. Maybe I can get somebody on there to talk about that at this point. You're giving me good ideas, man, for guests. So.
But that really is that's really great research that he was doing. I mean, I know there were a number of people that tried to shoot it down, but they lost and he won. So that's a good thing. There's way too many hoaxes out there now. So I like when they get disproven or shot down. But his work,
Well, Lloyd's story is pretty interesting. He actually started out hunting for Bigfoot, and he was an anthropologist basically, and was into some archaeology. So he was actually a scientist. But when this skull was found down in Mexico, he really took it upon himself to find out what this thing really was. So and that's what he did. He was actually writing books to fund it, and as well he was out there looking for research funds until the day he died, quite frankly.
Yeah, shame. It just seems like all those guys like like Lloyd. And,
well, he was a good guy. He really was. I mean,
yeah.
we would spend hours talking on the phone. I mean, he was a great guy to talk to, and I had him on the show at least 3 or 4 times. So yeah, you know, he was pretty good, and I do miss him because we talked about a lot of different things. He actually was a real big proponent of the panspermia theory as well. You know, he had a lot of different theories on a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I've been watching cattle mutilations too.
Oh, God.
You know, there's a couple of those that have popped up lately.
Yeah, I know I know our colleague out in Western Pennsylvania said he had one, but he couldn't get any follow up out there. I wonder what that was all about. You know, it's very rare we get one in the state of Pennsylvania, but
yeah, there's never been one recorded in Pennsylvania.
Is that right?
Yep. I know there was when I started doing human mutilations, and so, which came from cattle mutilations, got me into human mutilations, and a researcher said that the first cattle mutilations were in Pennsylvania, but they weren't really cattle mutilations; they were pig mutilations. And they gave enough information that we actually found the pig farm.
Is that right?
Yep, and 300 mutilated pigs was greeted from the farmer to me as like, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know. So after I told him the story, he just looked at me, he shook his head, and he says, "Oh, you want to go over and look at the pigs?" He said, "They're over there." I was like, "Nah, that's all right. I'm out of here." But no, I couldn't find one recorded cattle mutilation in Pennsylvania, and now there's 1 or 2 that have popped up in the state. But again, there's either no location or nobody went to view the carcass. No samples were taken. You know, I mean, all of the silly stuff that we do to get that information started wasn't done. So, you know, I take it from the category of a possible cattle mutilation. I put it in on the other side of the ledger that says, like, just a great story, you know. But, and it's not like people don't know who to call, you know.
Well, I mean, if they just take enough time to look for it, they'll find us. I mean, we're out there everywhere now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and if they need help, they know who to call.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't like you know, I moved off the planet. I moved to another county. I didn't move off the planet. But you know.
Yeah, we all been on the move lately. Within the state, anyway. So, you know, I had somebody ask me the other day about Todd C's in the case and what's been going on there. Why don't you give us an update? You have anything new or heard anything?
Well, we're still stuck on you know, the information we got from the state trooper. You know, I'm trying to find some connecting issue with what his troopers reported to him when they get back to the barracks. And, you know, anything seen in that particular area at that particular time. And then, you know, still trying to locate some family members that seem to, like, fell off the planet.
Yeah.
But that's the way this whole case has been. You know,
yeah.
we go for a year or two and we don't get anything. And then all of a sudden, you know, somebody sends an email or somebody contacts me by phone or, you know, something like that. And then, you know, we're off and running again. So it's just the way it is. I mean, that case has always been like that. You know, we'll go for, you know, a long time with not a thing. And then all of a sudden there's more information to follow up on, or here's something that we didn't even know of, or some person that might have been at the scene, you know, when he was found. You know, that's the part that this case is just, it makes you crazy because, and I look at this case religiously. Every month I go through this case.
Oh, I know you do.
And I'm, you know, trying to see if there's anything that I missed or forgot or trying to make a connection with. And I keep coming up just where I'm at right now. And then, you know, then I'll get like an email with some information that I didn't have any idea about. But that's the way this case has been. It's always going to be that way till the till we come up with an answer.
Yeah,
and it could be a lot of things.
When I wrote the last book, I put a lot of stuff in there about what you
right.
found and what we've been finding since then. And there are so many questions about this thing that just I won't say they haunt me, but I gotta say I'd say after we started looking at it together after about 1.5 years or 2 years, and we've been working on this together now since what, 2013? I know you've been doing it longer than that, but I'm still convinced that this was an actual abduction. I really am. I mean, there's just too much there, in my opinion. Now, I don't know how you feel. I think I know how you feel, but that there are just too many unanswered questions, and there are just too many false facts or falsities that have been added to this story to in an attempt to cover up the truth.
Which and I agree. I mean, there's so many ways this case could go. Like what you're saying about an abduction going bad, or somebody had it in for him, or there's just a lot of things. Misinformation that was fed to us by people that were in the know. Coroner, police, fire department. I mean, everybody that was there lied to us. The only thing, Lon, that every time I get done and I start to get a headache, I pat myself on the back, and I'm so thankful that in the very, very beginning, I made sure that everything I got from whoever I talked to or whatever information I got was in writing.
Yeah.
Email, letters, photograph. I mean, everything I got. There's no, like, the coroner can't back out of what he said to me because I got it on his letterhead.
Sure.
Phone calls were documented. That stuff was all right on the money. And so I just want to. There's just a couple little things that bother me a lot, especially the one with the trooper. And we've talked, and he gives a pretty good rendition of what his troopers came and told him that the day that Todd disappeared. But I got to make some more connections there, because I'm trying to find out if it did happen the way they said it happened, there's going to be a paper trail. And right now I can't get that paper trail. So I gave him another month to think about it. And if he doesn't, then I'm going to file a FOIA request and see if it actually happened the way he said, or if that transpired to put those troopers in that location that particular night and time. And we'll see.
Yeah.
It's really all you can do.
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I keep going back and looking at this thing. And and every once in a while something else will stick out. Like, for instance, we've got the witnesses who stated, and hopefully they're truthful statements, of seeing something being pulled up into this large disc craft up on the ridge.
Right.
Now, when his body was found, or let's put it this way, in the coroner's report, his body had a lot of scratches on him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way it seems to me was I think he was trying to run away from whatever was up there trying to grab him. If it was a beam of light, or maybe there were some entities out there chasing him around. But he got up there in that brush and got himself tore up. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But
there's a little boogaboo to that. In the autopsy report, now, being up there and seeing that land, I mean, it's rocky and sharp, and I mean, it's just, you can't walk across there in good hunting boots. It hurts your feet.
Right.
Now, he would have had to run or walk or stagger, whatever, from the ATV, which was 1 mile away, to where the body was found. And in the autopsy report, the heels, the backs of his heels of his white socks were dirty, but his feet and bottom of the socks were unremarkable, which meant they weren't scratched, they weren't cut, and neither were the socks.
Oh, well, now if that's the case, what's to say he didn't have his heels stuck in the ground, was being dragged?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, like, maybe there was a beam pulling him, or something was holding him and pulling him.
Yeah, it could be.
You know, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, like I said, I still believe that he was taken at some point. He was kept for at least, I don't know, a day and a half or so.
Yeah.
Wherever they took him, because the craft wasn't still there.
No.
They came back with him at some point.
And they were walking past the body, and they were walking past the body location for almost 2 days.
Sure. I mean, you know, if he was there, they'd have discovered him, because it was right there underneath that tree and in that gully. And people, you know, all these people were walking past there every damn day.
And he smelled bad.
Yeah. So he got dropped off, but unfortunately, he got dropped off dead.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, you know.
No, we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking. That's all we can do.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, and the big question is this: is this a landmark case to where an actual death occurred during an abduction and the body was recovered? Is that what happened? Is that possibly what had happened?
Yeah, could be.
Because all indications are, to me, and what I think is, when the body was recovered, it was kept away from the family from seeing it, and we don't even know if the body was even returned to them. Because it was returned in a sealed lead casket of some type, and they weren't allowed to look at it.
I think most of that, though, was the condition of the body.
Well, that may have been too.
He was really into. I mean, you know, it was not something you'd have an open casket to, because they wouldn't have recognized him anyway. I mean, that's how bad the putrefaction was well advanced to what it should have been. That's another thing.
Well, not only that, though, but, you know, the reason I say that is, you know, some people want to see the body regardless how bad it is.
Right.
But they weren't given an opportunity to do that. No. They were told not to look at it. And,
And another thing was, when we tried to pin down who actually found the body, it's like 4 different people said that. First it was the son, then it was the chief of police, then it was the coroner, and then it was one of the firemen. So which one was it? Who identified him?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a big question too. I mean, and another thing, why was the body taken the whole way across the state to Allentown?
Yeah.
You know. So, anyway, we got people asking about the winged humanoid reports. I suppose since Ross is saying here, do I think the large bat report that you got on the blog can resolve the winged humanoid reports? Nah, and nothing going to resolve this for a while, I'm quite sure. Now, that report he's referring to was from 2011. That's the one I think I put up today. Now, there was one I posted yesterday for Southern Illinois from the mid 90s. Now, of course, these aren't new reports. These are older reports, and I do I do want to get older reports because I want to get a better idea of what this whole phenomena is. So, we do know at this point that this thing has been seen, or these things have been seen for quite a long time now. But that, people over the past 8-9 years are starting to report them to the point that, we're getting a whole swath of them now. And now we're getting the old reports with it. And I'll tell everybody, when we get these reports, and for the most part, it's been myself, Tobias, and Manuel who have been getting the reports. We, before we post anything, we talk to them. If they don't want to talk to us, 9 times out of 10, the report's not going up. We're almost at the point now that we are requiring everybody to talk to us to get some type of verification. And it's usually multiple interviews with more than one of us. So, at this point now, that's what we need to do. I don't know how far we're ever going to get to trying to figure out what this is. That report that we got a couple weeks ago of the flying being, along with the gray alien and the 2 humanoid females. I don't know what to even think about that yet.
Well,
I don't know. The first thing you got to ask is something similar to that been associated with some of the other reports that we received, but nobody happened to see that happening. Well, the fact that we had all these reports, and that report was in Rosemont as well. We've had 5 reports in the Rosemont area up into the airport, and this last one was actually at O'Hara. You got to wonder what there's an association with these other entities, with the other sightings. So I don't know. The fact that we're getting all these reports in the one area like that is pretty interesting to me. We did, during the flatback in 2017, we did have areas of the city where there were multiple reports. And in fact, the area, Little Village area, which is something I've talked about many times, we had 8 reports in that one neighborhood. So, there have been certain neighborhoods in the city and the surrounding area that have had multiple reports. Lincoln Park was another. There were several areas along the lakefront downtown that had sightings. There was one part of Indiana that had several sightings. Actually, there were several parts of Indiana that had several sightings. So, that's the one thing we're trying to figure out.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, best practices is you go backwards and see what was there before, or, earlier years. And I know that surprised me when, I kind of do that with UFOs and stuff. But when I did that with the first bipedal reports, and I started coming up with all these reports, and I'm like, what the, And same thing with these winged beings. I mean, if those reports go back, before you started to get them again, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, but and these reports, I put the 94th report up there on the map today.
Wow.
94. But these reports are all between 2011 and to the present time. And the reports of beings before that don't even go up on the map. And I've had at least two dozen reports previous to that. Now some of those earlier sightings could have been other type of winged beings. Illinois is well known for thunderbirds, pterosaur-like beings, other winged anomalies. So, I don't know, but I put the 94th sighting up a day. I've got 4 more that we're looking into. I think Tobias got one recently that he's waiting to get more information on. So that makes 5 right now. So it's nuts.
I was just going to say that's nuts. That whole thing up there is just, it's unbelievable. You know, you can understand 1 or 2 or 5 reports, but 94? Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand. I mean, I do realize I'm actually putting ads out, soliciting people to open up and come forward. That I am doing that. I know Tobias has been doing that. But it's not like we're just soliciting reports. We do follow up on them, and we do put the witnesses through some pretty strict interview. And we don't want some type of hoax or something that we have tried to avoid all that from the very beginning. There have been some reports early that I never even put up into the map. I just ignored. And because either the witness wouldn't talk to us directly, or the story changed on them. There haven't been many.
Yeah, well, with the bipedals, it only happened one time.
Yeah,
you're right. I got one. I got the story, and it was a good story. And we traveled up to that area, a long travel trip. And when we got there, it was a totally different story, totally different scenario, totally different area. Things that were supposed to be there weren't there. All kind of excuses. I mean, it was just a waste of time. But I called it for what it was.
Yeah. Yep. We got a question here. Has MUFON made any changes for the better? Oh, Christ, you and I could write a book about MUFON.
Well, I see King answered the question properly.
No. I have talked about this countless times. Invariably I get somebody who will contact me about something that it always involves an entity, a possible non-terrestrial, and the first thing they'll tell me is, well, MUFON wouldn't answer me, wouldn't talk to me. We did have a winged humanoid report in Rosemont from about a month or 5 weeks ago that was originally reported to MUFON, and the field investigator went out there and it pissed off the witness, and the witness told them to pound sand and then came to us. That happens. That happens a lot, people. It really does, unfortunately. But then again, fortunately for us, we get it. Yeah. We get criticized for it, but not that I care, but that's just the way it goes. We're out there putting the time and the effort into finding the truth, and well, Butch, you used to be with MUFON, used to be a field investigator. There aren't many more of them around anymore.
No, I did my time as field investigator, STAR team guy, and chief investigator for the state, and I had enough. That was it. Done. So it's a whole lot easier when you you're working with like-minded people. And there's no hunt for fortune and glory.
Well, that's what I like about our group, because we do have a good group of people in this, our Phantoms of Monster Fortean Research, who, like you said, are like-minded, who are out to find some answers without the glory. And sure, you'll get publicity. I get people tell me all the time, well, all you're doing is doing the blog and this and that for publicity. No, that just comes with the hard work.
Right.
So, if I figured a way to capitalize on it, Well, I sure haven't found it because it ain't out there. I'm not out there on little TV shows and stuff trying to capitalize off of that. That's just not me.
Well, I see. One of the things that bothers me is I can't figure out how some of these people do all these investigations and write all this stuff up and do all these speeches and appearances and stuff like that. When do they find time to actually do the investigation?
Well, that's just it.
And if somebody tells me they can do an investigation and they can figure it out in a week, that's just a lot of bull.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so many files in my library that that go back in early 2000s and before that in 1989 on up, and I never solved them. Right. I mean, I put a lot of work into them. There's a big file, but I never came up with an answer. But I look at it this way: I tried.
Yeah, and I know some people are going to listen to this show tonight on the podcast, and they're going to get upset by some of the stuff we've been talking about. But that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't do this to satisfy other investigators' egos or what they think is right and wrong. I just try to get, my commitments to the clients or someone or to the witnesses. Their anonymity is important to me. We try to work together to try to find answers about what is actually going on, regardless of where it ends up. And, I'm not out there doing it for anybody else's satisfaction other than for the witnesses and for the team itself. And that's it. I mean, that's just the way, and that's the way I think it ought to be.
Well, that's pretty much the way it is with our guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everybody, it's tough when you're doing it by yourself and you have no connections. And I did that in the very, very beginning, starting in the 80s and late 80s, and it got me nowhere.
Oh yeah.
And then, as I started to, meet people, know people, read more, study more, research more, then that kind of sets your path. So I know there's a lot of good investigators out there. There really is. And then there's some that are not so really good. But, it's nice that you have, a fellowship that I can make a phone call to something that I may have read about California that I had in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And I have a number of people I can call to get that information from.
So how many times have I asked you if you knew somebody on a certain case?
Sure.
It happens all the time. I mean,
yeah.
We're always digging and looking for people that'll give us some information to try to help us in a case. And, I think the trust is there to the point where you can go out and do that now, or we can go out and do that now and get some honest answers. And that's why I want to keep building our team to the point where, if somebody has to put the boots on the ground and go out there and actually look at it, then we can do that.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a pretty good start. I think we're doing pretty good. Right now what did I say? 16, 17 people?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But we're still expanding. And I think things are getting much better, and boy, but I know the reports have been rolling in. So,
well, that's what we're here for, right?
I don't know if it's going to get to the point. Well, I have to learn. I need to start learning to start putting some reports out there for others to look into. So, because I try to do a lot of this myself, and I get caught up in it, and I just, it's hard to keep track sometimes. I'll open my email up, and I'll sit some mornings, and I've got 12, 15 reports in there. And it's like, oh, my God, here I'm going to be on the phone all day before I even get the blog going.
Yeah. It kind of works out that way a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. So,
it's going to get to the point where, we're going to have something, some kind of central location or some kind of hookup where we can talk to each other. I'm not thrilled about Skype. Half the time you lose everything on Skype.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. You know, if we got to do it in a conference thing or
a round table or something.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was thinking today, I actually need to get a website for the team so I can put everybody's information there that's on the team, all the contact stuff. And, you know, instead of just doing it willy-nilly on the blog, you know, I need to do a better way of doing it.
You could password protect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's no big deal.
Oh, well, yeah. So there's more projects to do. Just something else I just promised myself into doing. I got to find time to do, but, you know, that's the way it goes, man. And if I didn't love doing this, I wouldn't do it. And, you know, it's just, you know, it keeps his old man busy.
I feel the same way.
We ain't getting no younger, man.
No, we're not.
Okay, well, Butch, I want to thank you for coming on with me tonight. And, you know, I like when we have these kind of talks on the air. It kind of lets people get an idea of where we're at and what we're doing. And, you know, to let them know we're just real people. And we do have a lot of investigators and researchers that listen to the show. And let them know, hey, we're just like them.
Well, always a pleasure. You know that. Anytime you need me, you know how to get me.
Oh, I do. You take care. You have a good weekend, man.
You too, sir. Bye.
Now, if you have an unexplained encounter or sighting, feel free to contact me through the Phantoms and Monsters blog site. If you're interested in supporting Phantoms and Monsters or Arcane Radio, you can use the PayPal donation buttons on the blog or newsletter, or just go directly to the PayPal and use my email, lonstrickler@phantomsandmonsters.com as the recipient. You can also give a donation through Facebook Messenger. Now, my books are available on Amazon.com. Just search my name, Lon Strickler, and all of my titles will appear. Your continued support is truly appreciated. I want to again thank Butch Witkowski for joining me this evening on short notice, and I want to thank you for listening to the show. Good night, and have a safe and enjoyable weekend.